Hi everyone, Chaska here. I am a B.Ed student in University of Cebu, and I am wondering, what do our teachers use when they are presenting lessons or topics? This is audiovisual materials, wherein audiovisual materials are recognizable and acceptable as essential means to teaching, learning, and research purpose. Let's move on to the definition of concepts. First is audio material. It refers to tools that convey information through sound. These are materials in which sounds are stored or recorded and can be reproduced mechanically, electronically, or both. These materials include audio cassettes, audio discs, audio reels, and talking books. Another material is visual material, in which it refers to tools that conveys information through sight. First is illustrated books, chart, globes, and poster, wherein these are materials which we can see and can be understood by observing the visual aspect of any object. Another concept is audiovisual material. It is a combination of both sight and sound to convey information. These are things that can be understood by observing visual aspect of anything. This includes film, videotape, and demonstration. According to the librarian glossary, AVMs or audiovisual material as non-book materials like tapes, slides, films, which are renewed and recent to rather than read as books. And according to DITE 1993, it defines that audiovisual resources are those materials which do not depend solely upon reading to convey meaning and present information through the sense of hearing as audio resources or through a combination of both senses. The next concept is audio. It refers to sounds reproduced by a computer or any devices, and the next concept is video. It refers to electronic medium for recording, broadcasting of moving images. Let's move on to the functions of audiovisual materials. First is make learning permanently. The quality of the learning experience profoundly influences the performances. We can readily see how much audiovisual materials offer in terms of vividness and power of impression. So the qualitative reach audiovisual materials experience has more important learning. Audiovisual materials give vividness to the learning situation. The next one is had interest and involvement, wherein interest is so much part of audiovisual materials. Attention is a true factor in any process of teaching and learning. Audiovisual materials aids help the teacher in providing proper environment for capturing and sustaining the attention and interest of the students in the classroom works. The next one is encouragement to healthy classroom interaction. The fourth one is it is a best motivator, because audiovisual materials are best motivators that students learn with more interest and zeal. They become more attentive. Fifth one is develop continuity of thought, wherein the continuity of thought that is fostered when verbal abstractions are coupled with visual and auditory explanations. The attention-getting power of audiovisual materials and their simplicity combine to help the students think consecutive about a subject in his or her area. The next one is develop meaningful vocabulary, wherein the contemporary development of audiovisual materials introduce large and specialized vocabulary, since audiovisual materials supply a concrete basis for conceptual thinking. It enriched the words by meaningful concept to the students. Audiovisual materials not only correct confused or inaccurate or misleading conceptions, but place the correct responses concretely before the students. Last one is it stimulates self-activities, because it reports experiment indicates that self-activities can be fostered by the skillful utilization of audiovisual materials. Audiovisual materials stimulate encouragement in preventing crime of a local community, improving recreational facilities, etc. Let's move on to types of audiovisual materials. First is audio media. It refers to the medium that is narrated, recorded with the use of audio equipment. Under audio media is recordings. It is a process of recording sound or a performance for subsequent reproduction or broadcast. It may come in cassettes or CDs. And under audio media is also radio broadcasts. It is a transmission of radio programs that can be live or taped. The prime purpose of radio is to convey information from one place to another through the intervening media without wires. Besides being used for transmitting sound and television signals, radio is used for the transmission of data in coded form. Another type of audiovisual material is visual media that can be used in any subject matter, especially presenting texts through visuals such as data presented through graphs, tables, and illustrations like pie chart, and project these through PowerPoint presentations. Under visual media is bulletin board. It is a form of display on a board wherein it is usually attached to a wall in order to display notices giving information about something. And next one that is under visual media is posters. It is a form of displaying information using pictures and texts. It is a temporary promotion of an idea, product, or event put up in a public space for mass consumption. Posters are designed to be both eye-catching and informative. Now let's move on to another type of audiovisual material, which is audiovisual media. And under this media is motion picture video, wherein motion pictures mixed with sound. And this is a quick sequence of images depicting people or objects in motion, preserved on a recording medium and capable of being projected for viewing. Another one is films. It is a large sequence of animated scenes and sounds, in which it is also known as a movie or a motion picture. It is a series of moving images shown on a screen, usually with sound, that make up a story. Let's move on to the uses of audiovisual material in teaching. First is to challenge the attention of the pupils, wherein the teacher here uses devices that can usually maintain the full attention of the class. This is generally true in the lower grades. Devices should never be used by the teacher as mere attractions. The next one is to develop the mental imagery of the pupils, wherein devices that stimulate the imagination of the pupils. Mental imagery can be used as a vehicle of thought and as a means of clarifying ideas. The third one is to facilitate the understanding of the pupils, wherein the most widely accepted use of devices, whether visual or audiovisual, is its use in aiding understanding. Learning can be sped up by using models, movies, film strips, and pictorial material to supplement textbooks. Material devices give significance and color to the idea presented by the teacher. The next one is to provide incentive for action, wherein the use of devices such as pictures and objects arouses emotion and incites the individual to action. The teacher must select the right kind of device to excite the pupils to worthwhile intellectual activity, like asking the pupils to collect pictures representing water, air, land, transportation, will stimulates them to action. Next one is to develop the ability to listen, wherein the ability to listen can be developed best through the use of audiovisual materials. It is also the responsibility of the school to provide training for our pupils to be good listeners. Training in the art of listening is one of the aims of audiovisual education. Let's move on to the advantages of using audiovisual materials in teaching. First advantage is it provides diverse teaching techniques for learning, because it helps the teacher to use video lessons, demonstrations that can be helpful in the lesson. The next one is simplify and clarify complex topics, wherein the teacher can use the information in the video about a specific topic that can help students to easily understand the lesson. Next one is it allows students to learn at their pace, and the fourth one is it can be reused, because when the teacher downloaded or saved the file or the video in the computer, he or she can use it for another time with the same lesson. And last is reduce the quantity of asked questions, because the audiovisual materials used by the teacher had clearly discussed the topic that made the students understand. Now let's move on to the disadvantages of using audiovisual materials in teaching. First, it requires correct use. Second, not all concepts can be taught. It's because some videos that the teacher might use that he or she assumes is helpful to the lesson, but the truth is the video lacks some important details or points of the lesson that is needed to be learned. Third one is does not guarantee learning. It's because some students might not enjoy the material shown and thus lose interest in the lesson. The fourth one is to prepare it. Good pronunciation is needed. The fifth one is it can be difficult to students, especially if the video in the speaker speaks with accent or fast, unclear pronunciation. It might be difficult for students to understand. Next is a good internet speed is required. It's because if you don't have a good internet connection, the video you wanted to present won't play well. Let's move on to the ways to use audio to support learning. First is Unit Podcast. It is a weekly update of teaching material. And here are the examples of podcast. But why a podcast for curious kids? Wherein it is where kids always ask seemingly simple questions that have surprisingly complex answers, such as why is the sky is blue and who invented words. This cute bi-weekly radio show or podcast takes on answering them. Each episode features several kid-submitted questions, usually on a single theme, and with the help of experts, it gives clear, interesting answers. Another example of unit podcast is Brains On, wherein it is similar to But Why. This is another podcast that takes kid-submitted science questions and answers them with the help of experts. What makes this one different is that it tends to skew a bit older, both in its questions and answers, and it has different kid co-hosts each week. The result is a fun show that's as silly as it is educational. Teachers can encourage students to take one of the topics and research it more completely, or to use it as a jumping off point for science experiments and research related questions. The next one is live online discussions between two or more people, wherein another one that is used that supports learning is interviews with subject matter experts, wherein it can be used as core or support for lessons. And interviews with subject matter experts, it allows you to learn more about the topic from the people who know it best, so you can add the depth of your content that is needed to stand out and get noticed. The next one is student-generated recordings. It is used as part of learner activity and record evidence. And the next one is recordings of public lectures, can be used for different context subjects. Now let's move on to the ways to use video to support learning. First is to demonstrate experiments example. It helps to illustrate how it works. And next one, to exemplify abstract concepts, wherein it helps students to understand abstract concepts quicker than you reteaching with more traditional methods. Next one is to illustrate 3D models, fourth one is to illustrate performance and music. And last one is to show practical activities example. Audiovisual materials are important tools for teaching and learning process. It helps the teacher to present the lesson effectively, and students learn and retain the concepts better and for longer duration. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you've learned something, and thank you for watching.